Are you a homeschool parent who just sometimes feels disappointed or overwhelmed because you look back at your year and you're just not sure of your children's progress? That was me for sure. And maybe that's how you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling like your children's education just doesn't have any focus, that you dabble in this and you dabble in that. And at the end of the year, all you see is a pile of curriculum, but you don't see any clear focus or anything that your children like delved deeply into at the end of the year. Is that you? Is that the situation that you find yourself in after many months or years of homeschooling? And most of us, I was going to say all of us, but I hear that some people don't, but most of us have skeptics around us who just don't feel that homeschooling is maybe the best choice for us, for you, for your children. And wouldn't you love just to have something to present to them, to show them, yes, this is what my kids are doing. They're doing awesome. And here, this is the proof. If you said yes to any of those questions, you're going to enjoy today's conversation, because my guest and I are going to be talking about the benefits of reflection. And my guest is going to share some creative ideas to preserve your homeschooling memories as you look forward to the months and years and the homeschooling journey ahead of you. My name is Diana Rolston, and I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, I bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. And I really strive to be able to provide a supportive and encouraging environment for homeschool parents. So I want to welcome you, whether you are just thinking of homeschooling and you're just popping in to learn a little bit more about homeschooling as you sort of explore, and maybe this is an opportunity for you, a chance for you to educate your children at home. I want to welcome you. Some of you find yourself homeschooling for the last 2 years. Wasn't a choice that you originally thought you'd be making, but a huge welcome to you. It's not easy, and especially if it wasn't in your plans, but welcome and congratulations for choosing what may be the best choice for you and for your children. And then there's some of you who have been homeschooling for quite a few years that I recognize from my days of homeschooling. And you just have younger children, so you've been homeschooling for many years now. Welcome to you also. This conversation today will be for you if you just feel discouraged sometimes because you don't see that progress that you were really expecting, or you don't perceive that there's been progress over the last few weeks, months, or the year that you have been homeschooling your children. You can enjoy today's conversation. If you feel like your children's education is lacking that focus, you dabble here and there, but you don't see a thread, a connecting thread that brings everything in focus and clear to you as to what they've been learning this year. And then, like I said, those skeptics, this conversation is for you. If you would just like to have that something to show them that, yes, my children are doing well and I'm doing well, and this is what they're learning. My guest is going to be sharing some creative ideas to help you in those areas. This again is Spark Homeschool Parent, and as you're coming on, joining us, please say hi, send a quick note, or if you're watching the replay, do that also. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from and how you connect with this topic. I'm Diana Rolston, and again, today's conversation is the benefits of reflection, and my guest today is going to be sharing some creative ideas to preserve those homeschooling memories as you look and as you plan and forward into the future, making those goals for your children. I have the pleasure of welcoming my guest and the privilege of talking with her. She's a mom of 2 homeschool graduates. Will is now in college in the US, and Hosanna is in high school. She's now living in Mount Pleasant, Texas, with her husband and her dog Buddy. She loves to write and to read, and she shares these passions as a homeschool English teacher. She's also an epicure host who loves to show her love by providing amazing meals for her guests. No doubt she has a cup of tea by her side right now, and I'd love to introduce Rachel Halldorson. Let me bring her in here. Hey, Rachel.
Hello.
Rachel and I had the opportunity to homeschool alongside each other for many years when Rachel was living up here in the Great White North. I introduced briefly your two children. Maybe you can give us an update on what they're up to.
Yeah, well, I homeschooled both the kids up until high school. And so, 8th grade was the last year, and then they went off and went to a religious boarding school. So something completely different. But Will is a senior. He graduates this year at Martin Luther College in New Ulm, Minnesota, where he will be graduating with a double major in ancient languages and theology. And he has plans to put off seminary for now and go active duty in the U.S. Army. So that's exciting. And then is, we call them sophomores, 10th grade in high school in Wisconsin. And she's doing great. She's having the time of her life.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Rachel, you are one of those, I hope I've shared this with you before, but you have always been one of those wise people in my life. We had an opportunity when we were homeschooling to share some of our struggles, to share many of our successes. And that was a topic of my conversation in the Facebook Live last week, just the importance of having at least one person to confide in, to connect with, sharing those successes, but also those struggles. So thanks for doing that.
Likewise.
And there are a lot of homeschoolers who just feel discouraged sometimes, overwhelmed when we look back at the year that's passed and we just wonder, what have we accomplished? What have my children done this whole year? And you have some really, you have a creative idea on how to preserve those memories. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not the end of the year yet. So there's still time to do this for this year, which is great that you're doing it now. But I started at one point scrapbooking on, I used Shutterfly. So at the end of every school year, usually then when I got to June or July, I'd try to do it right away before I forgot. I would put together a Shutterfly online scrapbook of that school year. And that would force me to go back and find all the photos that I took and then put them together in a way that that makes sense in the scrapbook. And what that did for me, and I didn't plan on it, but what that ended up doing for me is it made me realize so often we get to the end of the school year and we're all exhausted, parents and kids alike, and wondering, like you said, what the heck just happened? Like, did we even do anything? And so many times I felt that way. And when I did the act of putting the scrapbook together, it blew me away how much we did. It got me so excited, and I felt so blessed to have been able to give my kids an amazing experience that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise had they been in a brick and mortar school.
And interesting that before you went through that process, you were questioning what you had done.
Absolutely, which is insane. But I think we're all like that. I just got caught up in the emotion and individual moments, and I failed to see the big picture. I think that's what the scrapbooks do. They give the big picture, just snapshots of the year. And And then I look back on it now. This gave me a great opportunity to look back on them. 15 years of homeschooling for me. And each year had such personality. And I'm so glad I wrote it down and took the pictures. And, some of my early scrapbooks were before the smartphone. So I actually had to haul my camera around. And I'm glad I made the effort. It was really worth it.
And like you say, yeah, now it's even easier when we have our phone with us to just take the pictures. Stop for just a brief moment.
Yes. And I got to the point too where I was taking, one might think odd pictures, but for instance, one of my favorite homeschool covers, if I could share this with you, is right here. And we did a lot of sunlight homeschool. So we read a lot of books, and every year had, was a different theme, like ancient history or what was American. We did 2 years of American history. Eastern Hemisphere was one of my favorite. Well, they were all one of my favorites, if I'm going to be honest. But I took a picture of the books. These were the books that we read that year because we are such book lovers. And that just became, that was the heart of our school year that year. So I love looking at this and saying, oh, that's the year that we read, Calico Bush or Carry On Mr. Bowditch or, all these favorites. And so every year I would take pictures of our schoolroom, because I would change it up every year, sometimes more for my benefit than the kids, just to look at something different. But I would add different elements every year just as a fresh perspective for all of us. Take a picture of our desk, what an everyday desk, looked like that year. And our back to school photos, I always tried to make sure that if our back to school photos weren't taken by someone else, I was doing the taking. And so incorporating any field trip we would go on, any, even a mundane, we're painting today. Well, I could forget to get my camera out, but I tried to remember, and then I could put it in here, and it meant something. So.
And I think also for us, for sure, as we reflect at the end of the year and make plans for the year to come. But so many times I have said to my children over the last few years, remember when we whatever, and they have no recollection, or they claim to have no recollection. But if I had done my scrapbook, I could show them.
Yes, I have proof. See, we did.
You did
and you had fun.
Yeah. You had also shared that you noticed threads throughout the year, whether it was intentional or not. There was one year we were homeschooling at the time. There was a Winter Olympics. And I had found that was the year that we really focused on different countries and flags and geography and culture, which was just the outcome of watching the Olympics and using the Olympics as a focus. And remember, your son and two of my boys had a Lego robotics competition, which was also with the theme of the Olympics. And I just came across that picture lately with their toque and their goggles and winter sports. And then you were sharing earlier this week about a thread that you found one year.
Yeah, it was funny. I got to the end of one school year and I found it ended up being the school year of birds. So it was the year that a robin mama built a nest in our play structure, and I caught it too late. So she had already fashioned it just so and laid her baby eggs. So I thought, well, okay, this is going to be, an opportunity to watch these eggs and document them and look at them every day and watch them hatch. And it was quite a lovely experience. But it was also the same year where another homeschool mom friend of ours organized a bird banding field trip, which I didn't even know anything about before. So we got to do, learn about the migration of the birds and how they, would monitor it with these bands, and the kids helped put them on, and it was amazing. And
that was a great time.
Mom that year had organized another field trip with like a first aid bird, I don't even remember, hospital kind of thing. We went to that. And so it ended up being this year of birds that, I'd like to say I planned thoughtfully at the start of the year. but I just love how stuff like that happens. And some years had more field trips than others. I mean, my goodness, all the museum trips, all the, every year I was reading through the books, and every year I said, this was the year of field trips. Well, every year was the year of field trips.
And we do have to appreciate that maybe that is not the case these last couple of years, especially not
good point
up here. But there are still so many opportunities, and just getting out, and there is no stopping people from getting together in small groups for sure. But taking pictures of, because it's easy, to think back, try to remember, and not remember. It's also an opportunity when we're reflecting to be grateful. It's not boastful or prideful, but to be grateful for the opportunities that we were able to have. And then to use that as a chance to reflect and think over, and just be encouragement as we move on and make adjustments. I mean, not everything is all wonderful, and I don't know if you just omitted some pictures or you put some of those in there also.
Oh yeah.
But it's good for us to use those to make adjustments as we move forward.
Yes, that was another thing that occurred to me as I was looking through them, that it helped me see again the big picture. And we always tried, my husband and I tried really hard as we were planning our year to find that balance of not just academics, but the, are we balancing their time with nurturing them spiritually, and then are we balancing our time with them being in activities, exercise, and then what about art and music? And so always trying to find that balance, and sometimes we're better than others, and but it also helped me have perspective then going into the new year. So all that was fresh in my mind, and I could see what worked and what didn't, and that went right into the planning for the following school year.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again about that planning and setting those goals. We'll do that again in April. There was something else that you did that was really exciting. I was saying in my intro there that we all have skeptics about our homeschooling, if it's the best thing for our family, if it's the best thing for our children. And you have something that helped with that I'm sure people would like to see.
Sometimes, quite frankly, I was the skeptic. So sometimes it was just
very true.
So I even think I got this at one of our homeschool meetings, this idea. So, I mean, I'm not making this up, but I just grabbed a 3-ring binder. I probably started this more middle school, in the years before they went to high school, when it did get a bit more academic and they were in more, I don't know, rigorous things. But I made this up. This one was Will's, and just a regular 3-ring binder, and he would take violin lessons. So I don't know where this came from, but I must have put that in the beginning. And then I just added throughout the year. I didn't wait until the end of the year. This was something that I did throughout the year when he would get an award for something, or you get different congratulations, whether it was musical or he took the SHEP courses, so that he would get science and history enrichment certificates through that. Just proud accomplishments. Maybe one of his really better papers that he wrote, maybe a really good grade on a math test. Just the best of that year, and that would be what we would show off. And again, maybe it was for my own, this is legit. We did this, but then it was also something we could share with, with grandma and grandpa or whoever was interested. So.
Yeah, interesting. This is legit, and my kids actually are thriving.
Yes. Yeah.
And next month I'll be talking a little bit more about high school and preparing our children for sort of the next step, and how important that is when we're putting together high school transcripts.
Sure.
And just to remind us, yeah. And again, not pridefully. Well, we are proud of our children for sure, but not in a vain, but in a, yeah, this is going well.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it up. And again, yeah, something to reflect on, to make adjustments to our next year and as we move forward. Yeah. I want to thank you, Rachel. This has
My
been great.
pleasure.
It's awesome to see you again. And I'm
Aw,
looking forward to when you are joining us again in April, when we'll be revisiting our month on purpose.
sounds
Sorry,
good.
not on purpose, but the month with regards to purpose.
Gotcha.
So thank you. And I want to thank you for joining me on Spark Homeschool Parent. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through the ever-changing homeschool journey. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join us if you haven't already at Spark Homeschool Parent, and that's a Facebook group. I'm going to be here every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Rachel, I think we're at 12 Central Time. Next week, we're going to be talking about self-care. It's a little bit of a buzzword right now, but I'm going to be interviewing a great friend of mine, Virginia Dawson. She has a really engaging story and lots to share. We're going to be talking about when caring for self is not selfish, a case for self-care. And I'm really excited about an upcoming webinar on February the 12th. So keep an eye out for that in our Facebook group, Spark Homeschool Parent. And that's going to be on how to educate joyful children with a spark for learning. And in the meantime, remember that as a homeschool parent, you can ignite the spark that engages your children's learning.